Ricky, I want you to just sort of start us off here. We're talking about how you have to be a little bit nuts to be a race car driver, don't you?
There's a fine line between being crazy and being a race car driver, I guess you could say. So it takes a little bit of adrenaline, but also a little bit of skill, yeah.
Yeah, well, also you gotta have a sort of an equanimity, right? You have an even keel about things. How did you get into the world of racing?
My father, he owned Indy cars, part owner in a racing team. They ran the Indy 500 and several other races, and the first time I went to the Indy 500, I thought, man, this is where I need to be, and this is what I want to do. That's ever since then.
David, how did you find out that this was where you needed to be as a sponsor of NASCAR?
Well, in all fairness to Ricky, we didn't find it out. Ricky approached us, and we met Ricky through an existing client relationship. And not only were we impressed with Ricky, we were really impressed with the economics and demographic story of NASCAR that he communicated to us. And when we looked at that sport, and we look at the participation in that sport, and we look at Ricky, and we're looking to grow as a firm. Part of that growth means bringing on new talent to the industry and to our firm. So we've just launched a new developing advisor program of which Ricky is going to participate. So instead of bringing on developing advisors and then setting them free in the world to develop a business, why not bring on people that have an existing discipline, an existing skill that they can then leverage with a financial services background?
Now, Ricky, you've got the background not only as a race car driver here that David's talking about, but you've got a background in the world of business. Tell us about your education.
Right, yeah, so I graduated in Fordham University with a degree in economics, and just thought that NASCAR is a great sport. It's second in popularity only to the NFL, and 6 million people on average watch it per race, and 54% of the people make more than $50,000 a year. So I thought, my passion is racing. I've got a background in finance. Why not couple these two together? And I approached Dave, and he was pretty astounded by the numbers.
Now, you see, you make it sound very smooth, very safe, and so on, but you were involved in an accident that really changed the kind of racing that you do. Tell us
really.
about it.
No, it actually changed my whole life completely, because before I had my accident, I was actually an engineering student at Purdue University, and I was going to school for that, and after my accident, I stopped.
What happened?
Well, I was driving at a dirt track in Indiana, upstate Indiana, and I hit a rut in the track and flipped about 30 feet in the air, and my seatbelt came apart, and my head hit the ground, and actually tore my artery in my neck. So my head was going back and forth, and I tore my carotid artery. So
you tore your carotid artery.
Mm-hmm.
That must have changed everything in your life.
Yeah, it really did. It made me sit back and think, what do I really want to do? And I got my degree done. I thought, okay, now that I finished this, I need to really realize, do I want to go back racing? And after I thought about it, I thought, yes, I do. So,
what have you done so far in racing? I know you've qualified for a couple of races. You were at Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
So it's been a little bit of a tough road coming back. Obviously, after missing 3 years, you kind of get forgotten of the racing industry. But we've ran a couple ARCA races and ran really well there, and made my first NASCAR nationwide race at Richmond. So.
David, were you in the audience watching this? Were you among the spectators?
I was, and it's incredible. It completely changed my outlook on the racing experience. I was obviously aware of NASCAR and the events, but I'm telling you, when you go to a race firsthand, it is tremendously impactful, that whole experience. So we were completely
bought in at that. You like being down close to the track?
Love being down close, and having Ricky at the race as a driver and having that access to all aspects of the track. And Ricky's demographic, what he's done from an educational perspective in his racing career. Our industry, the average age of an advisor is 52. Less than 5% of advisors are under the age of 30. We need people like Ricky that have that educational horsepower and this other ambition that we can develop in the industry.
All right, you mentioned horsepower, Ricky, so I got to ask you, how fast do you go? How many horses? Give us an idea of the car.
Well, it depends on the track, but normally, a mile and a half track, about 190. It's about the average speed, and then depending on, the super speedways, Talladega and Daytona, about 200, somewhere around there. So.
And where can we next watch you go around the track?
Hopefully, we're working on putting some deals together for Homestead Miami Speedway in November, so hopefully that comes up.